to honoring and preserving our city's cherished history. But her service to Palo Alto did not begin there. Mayor Koo has been closely involved in local issues since 2006, when she was recruited to lead the Palo Alto neighborhood's Emergency Preparedness Committee. From there, Mayor Koo was all in serving our community, and that passion, energy, and fighting spirit moved her to serve our community at a higher level here on the City Council. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mayor Koo, like so many in our community, immigrated to this country really after a fascinating and informative life abroad. She was born in Hong Kong, moved to Sudan when she was very young. Her childhood in Sudan was sadly suddenly interrupted when she had to flee because of the Sudanese civil war. Fortunately, she was able to find refuge in Guam with a relative, and in 1988, Mayor Koo moved to the Bay Area and finally made Palo Alto her home 10 years later. Since being elected to the City Council in 2016, Mayor Koo has been active in her role, having served as chair of the Policy and Services Committee, chair of the Rail Committee. She served a term on the Finance Committee. She's been an active liaison for dozens of committees and organizations, ranging from the SFO Roundtable to the Coverly Ad Hoc Committee, Association of Bay Area Governments, Avenidas, Santa Clara County City Association, and really seemingly everything in between. We would be here until next week if I named them all. Her breadth and depth of experience and knowledge is deep, and we are incredibly fortunate to have her leading us this year. Mayor Koo's service to this community does not end at the dais. She continues to be an active volunteer, serving as an emergency services volunteer. And at the beginning of the year, when we had those massive New Year floods, Mayor Koo was out there in the pouring rain, helping residents fill sandbags. She visited flooded streets and creeks. And my favorite story, she even personally knocked on the doors of residents whose houses had floods to be able to check in on them and to be able to offer a sympathetic ear. And that is what true, compassionate leadership looks like. She volunteers by serving food to seniors at La Comida, along with her loving husband, John, who you can see is videotaping this entire thing. And most importantly, she doesn't do any of this to further any political image of hers. She really does it because she's simply a good person who cares about people and cares about this community. And on a personal note, I want to thank Mayor Koo for asking me to introduce her tonight, and most importantly, for your friendship and welcoming me as a true partner as your vice mayor. And frequently this year, I have told people that I feel like I'm the Joe Biden to your Barack Obama as far as the political partnership and personal friendship we have developed. I really just need to start wearing my aviators more often, so to really complete the Joe aesthetic. Yeah, I can't see them. And so now it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome my friend and colleague, Mayor Koo, up to the podium to deliver her State of the City address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Stone, for being the Master of Ceremonies tonight and for your introduction. And Girl Scouts, Daisy Troop and Brownie Troop, I am so happy you could join us tonight and to kick off this event with the Girl Scouts Law and Promise. Thank you so much. And going to read over here. And good evening, and thank you for all of you for attending, and my council colleagues for coming tonight. Thank you. I almost feel like I want to apologize to you also because you're going to have to sit here and listen to me talk and talk and talk. So I'll say thank you and apologies at the same time. And so we'll begin the evening with a video of a few of the things we can be thankful for in Palo Alto. Thank you. As you can see, we have an amazing community. We have strong nonprofits such as La Comida, Youth Community Services, Pets in Need, Downtown Streets Team, Avenida Senior Center, Neighbors Abroad, UNAF, which stands for United Nations Association Film Festivals, and more, and many, many more. And we have Palo Alto small businesses. They're the character and soul of Palo Alto. Excuse me, I just saw Mayor Carmen Montiano from Milpitas. Thank you for being here. We're so fortunate also to have open space preserves and parks. We have 36 of them. We have also dedicated first responders, public works and utility staff monitoring and resolving issues as soon as they can. I feel blessed and I am so proud to live in a community where residents are so engaged. I also want to share what one company is doing by investing in itself and sharing its investments with Palo Alto. Will you please play the video?
At VMware, sustainability is in our roots, and our vision is to build a more equitable, sustainable, and resilient future. This is captured in our 30 ambitious goals to achieve by 2030. To accelerate our contribution to a low-carbon future, we set out to build a community microgrid on our Palo Alto HQ campus and serve as a resiliency asset for the broader community. During a power outage, natural disaster, or other emergency, the microgrid will provide 100% clean, renewable energy and provide uninterrupted energy backup for 2 buildings on our campus and to the City of Palo Alto's Mobile Emergency Operations Center. We are so proud to extend our ingenuity and technical leadership to be a sustainability champion in our community. This is our legacy, and we hope this project can inspire future innovations in energy resilience across the world.
So thanks to VMware for their sharing and contributions to the city. Slide number 4, please. Oh, next slide. I usually take a poster of the city's organization chart whenever I go on the speaking circuit, but today I have a slide. I believe it's an important reminder as public servants who it is that voted for us to be here, and that's you, residents. And as you see, at the very top, the council reports to the Palo Alto residents. Next slide. I also want to welcome the new members to the council. We have council members Ed Lowing, Council Councilmember Vinker. And we also have Councilmember Lithcott Hames, but she had another engagement, a prior engagement before we announced the date, and she sends her regrets. So thank you for being here tonight. And then we'll go to the next slide, please. In late January, the council met to set priorities to focus on during the year, and we decided to extend and continue the year 2022's priorities. The 2023 priorities are listed on this slide. Can we go to the next slide? And the next slide. There are many areas that I'd like to work on to enhance quality of life for residents this year, but I'll just mention a few, or we'll be here all night. There are many areas that I'd like to work on to enhance, no, I'm sorry, I already said that. Our community's health and safety is very important and a top priority for me. We've had challenges in the last couple of years, and we certainly still have many challenges ahead of us. We've been on a road to recovery over the last year and a half, and we will continue to work on community resiliency to address what we have learned from the pandemic and this series of atmospheric river storms, and continue our discussion on key priorities that benefit residents, small businesses, and economic recovery. Since about mid-2021, we have been very focused on restoring services. What we did learn during the pandemic and sheltering in place is that it's all about being local. We needed to shop around here. We needed to take walks around here. We needed utility services to sustain us here. We needed to feel safe in our homes here. We needed to know our cars will not be broken into here, and on and on. It's all about here. The city's workforce was reduced heavily during the pandemic, and we were losing many police and fire officers. And with a community that values emergency services, we took a careful look at the reasons why our safety officers were leaving or choosing other cities to work at. And we have made corrective adjustments to address market forces, and we're now seeing vacancies being filled. Our public works and utility departments are still short-staffed. Many are specialty positions and have not been filled to date. More reason for my gratefulness to public works and utility staff for their dedication and hard work during the storms to minimize disruptions in service. Thank you. Palo Alto residents love their libraries, and it is with delight for me to say that Palo Alto City Library was recognized by the Library Journal's Index of Public Library Service as a 5-star library, the highest possible recognition and an elevation from last year's 4-star rating. Congratulations. Congratulations, and thank you to the library staff and the Friends of Library for their support. Community recreational needs has increased. It was desired during the pandemic, and since then has expanded beyond pre-pandemic levels. This is a service community. Services require staffing. Staffing is people. Seniors are important members of our community, all seniors. One nonprofit organization that is of particular interest to me is La Comida. It was Rotary Palo Alto that founded and incorporated La Comida in 1972 as the first program for older adults in the county of Santa Clara. It was Rotary funds that enabled the building of the kitchen and dining room at the Avenida Senior Center, a nonprofit, and it is housed in a city-owned building. The La Comida kitchen and dining room allowed for social space for seniors to come together, to enjoy a nutritious hot meal, and for social engagement. In 2015, La Comida was asked to leave Avenida Senior Center, and although La Comida is operating at Stevenson's house, in South Palo Alto, there is a large contingent in North Palo Alto who are now picking up their meals to go. The pickup meal program will end July 1st, and it is a priority to find a dine-in space in North Palo Alto for the meals program to continue. The number of meals served in North Palo Alto has doubled during the COVID pandemic. A city-contracted senior center is a senior center for all seniors, and services should be contained in one building to offer ease for seniors to go from one activity to another and meet friends, old and new. Next slide, please. Community engagement, it's always been important to me to engage with the community. Boots on the ground, being physical present at a place and in front of people. Thank you for being here. Listening to people, having a conversation, asking questions, understanding what is being told to you is engagement. I'm happy to report that after going dormant for a few years after debuting in 2015, an effort by former Mayor Tom Du Bois to restart engagement with residents through neighborhood town halls is gaining momentum. The first returning neighborhood town hall took place end of last year for the neighborhoods in Southwest Palo Alto. The next one is this Sunday, March 26th. If you're in the neighborhood, you know about it. I believe it is so important to be in touch with residents, and these town halls bring council members, usually 2 of us, and city staff to the people at a place of their choice and amongst their peers. It provides the council members and city staff the opportunity to listen to residents in an informal setting and allows for us to learn what the city is doing and where the city can improve, as each neighborhood is unique. And feel free to reach out to me if you'd like small group meetings or even a one-on-one. I haven't forgotten about airplane noise engagement. The health effects due to noise and particulate matters is a problem. The NIH National Library of Medicine Noise Health 2017 white paper summarizes that aircraft noise is one, if not the most detrimental environmental effect of aviation. Sleep disruption adversely affect academic performance of children, could cause hypertension, and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease of people. Of course, it causes high community annoyance. Over the years, flights have increased over Palo Alto, flying lower altitudes and engaging their brakes and flaps, which adds to the noise. Palo Alto requested and was rejected by the San Francisco Roundtable to be a member. We would have loved to join in the discussion and to be part of a remedy to the problem. San Francisco Airport is also installing a new landing system called GBAS, short for Ground-Based Augmentation System, which we here in Palo Alto do not know if it will reduce airplane noise or if it will make matters worse. Vice Mayor Stone is the assigned liaison to monitor San Francisco Roundtable, and with staff has been communicating and engaging with San Francisco Airport staff to procure more information on what their analysis have yielded. Next slide, please. Next slide. The last couple of years have been difficult for small businesses. One of the highest priorities is to lay the foundational work for economic recovery. Some Palo Alto businesses are still trying to recover from the pandemic. There are a number of factors that affect our recovery, and the city's efforts to invigorate economic development has started with taking a dive into looking at the different areas of our city, talking and listening to communities and its members to learn what type of retail and businesses they might want or need. Stanford Mall and Town and Country are established, and are owned and managed by one owner and management group. Downtown Palo Alto and California Avenue, on the other hand, have many property owners. And the analysis delves into assessing what are some of the barriers, such as perhaps high rents. We lost Diddums, we lost University Arts, Shady Lane, Village Stationers, due to high rents, due to rent increases. We should review zoning and parking needs, and with a lens on acknowledging human tendencies to group outings, from dropping off kids at classes and running errands all in one trip before returning home. I am excited about this work the city is doing, actually developing a comprehensive economic development strategy and having the boots on the ground knowledge of what types of businesses to recruit and attract, so that these businesses will complement each other and help each other to succeed. Next slide, please. These are some of our small businesses, and I encourage you to look inward and shop local. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Environmental protections are crucial. Lives and properties are at stake. Sea level rise is not a distant threat. It is coming along fast and furious. Whether it is sea level rise, air quality, or energy consumptions, we must expand our attention and efforts. We electrify, reduce carbon emissions and greenhouse gases, but the reliability of our electric grid is critical to success. When I say our, I also mean the state's grid. While cities are working being carbon neutral and electrifying, the state is producing electricity using natural gas and nuclear energy. That needs to change. City staff recognizes that reliability of our electric grid is critical for building resident and business confidence to switch. And the utility and sustainability staff are focused on upgrading the local grid. I also want to extend a huge thank you to the Utilities Advisory Commission, and I see some of the members sitting here. Thank you for all your work on this. However, what must be done alongside is robust outreach to businesses and residents to educate and provide actual costs for those switches. We need to ensure balance and equity, as not everyone can afford these changes. Becoming carbon neutral or carbon free should not impoverish people. As an emergency preparedness person, I'd highlight and would want to insist on having a backup system if the gas pipe infrastructure is to be abandoned. There was a lot of capital invested in it, but I do look forward to learning of the backup system. For a successful sustainability climate action plan, climate change initiatives must, and let me repeat, must, include the natural environment and biodiversity. I do want to say, did you notice the lovely trees in here? Sustainability climate action plan cannot be all about tech solutions. They are new technologies. We still do not know all of its potential pitfalls. Let's all look at the mining. Let's take a look at mining for resources such as lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, that are used for a lot of our EV cars and other tech products. It is intense and invasive to the environment. It pollutes water sources and air quality, damages land. The clearing of vegetation and soils for mining can result in the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Last but not least, the loss of biodiversity, such as for some sensitive species, can result in extinction with the littlest disruption to their habitat. Our existing tree canopy is an important part of the Sustainability Climate Action Plan and must be preserved, protected, and expanded. Trees reduce heat islands, does its parts to sequester carbon, and it provides homes to many creatures, and is also a health benefit. I like to tell the story of when I was visiting Stanford Hospital before they opened, and they took us for a tour, and we visited one of their patient rooms. And they have a big picture window which looks over the hills, and they purposely planted trees out there. And one of the reasons that they did that was because they said studies show that people heal faster when they're looking at green and trees. And so I want to just mention that because it is truly a savior during the pandemic, having our trees all around us. What I have learned from the COVID pandemic is that we need to direct attention to our own, the residents who call Palo Alto home. It has made me realize our predecessors were environmental visionaries. They envisioned neighborhoods with parks so that it is accessible to as many neighbors as possible within walking and biking distance. And they went the extra mile to ensure dedication so that it can't be developed on. And through the decades, many generations, many, have enjoyed the city's parks and open space. What have we learned? I don't know I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that we need to move forward with flood protections, address the bridges over the San Francisco Creek, and get the work done. Because of the storms, we now know what streets and homes can be affected. And so we should find out if building the bridges will take care of these issues, or do we need to do more? We know trees have caused electricity power outages. Should we be looking and considering undergrounding utilities or having more timely tree pruning? The pandemic and storms are disruptors, but they're also learning opportunities. And what we must do is acknowledge we need to do something about it. Next slide. I just talked about that. Next slide. There you go. Thank you. Next slide. When it comes to housing, it needs to be addressed in a sensible way because, come on, you can't have infinite growth on a finite planet, which is why we need to address what is needed and wanted in Palo Alto. Palo Alto has long been a leader in the production of affordable housing. Did you know Palo Alto has one of the largest per capita below market rate inventories in Santa Clara County? Much of this inventory was established many years ago, doing it intentionally to address a purpose. We have an affordability problem. Unfettered building is not going to solve this problem. Palo Alto real estate has always been expensive, especially due to a global demand. And so I'm happy to report that in November 2022, Wilton Court, if we can go back to the previous slide. There you go, thank you. In November 2022, Wilton Court, a 59-unit affordable development, was occupied. The city granted land use approval for, the city also granted land use approval for Mitchell Park Place, located at 525 East Charleston Road, a county-city partnership for 50 affordable units, with half the units serving persons with disabilities. The city is also partnering with the county for the project at 231 Grant Avenue, where the county has donated the land and funding for teacher and school district employee housing. A nonprofit housing organization filed an application in 2022 for 129 deep affordable housing units on El Camino Real. The city has released a request for information for a private-public partnership for the redevelopment of one or more city service parking lots near University Avenue for the purpose of adding affordable housing units downtown. Next. Okay, thank you. This is an 88-unit affordable transitional housing project working in partnership with Santa Clara County and Live Moves. Palo Alto provided the land, and the state grant requires the city to commit operational funding. It offers vocational training, counseling, and other services to help the residents to gain skills and in time move into stable housing. Meanwhile, the city continues to explore ways to increase revenue for affordable housing. It recently adjusted its affordable housing impact fees on commercial development, and its residents approved an initiative on the November 2022 ballot for business tax, a portion of which is to support a variety of affordable housing interests. Since 2017, the city has contributed or pledged $52 million from its affordable housing fund or land value in support of construction of 218 affordable and workforce housing units, 108 emergency shelter rooms anticipated to be completed in 2023, and the preservation of 117 units at the Buena Vista Mobile Home Park. As part of a development agreement with Stanford University for development in the research park, an additional 70 affordable housing units were built in 2017. Which brings me to this. Which brings me to the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or known to some as RHNA. We're exiting the fifth cycle consisting of 8 years. Those were the years of 2015 to 2023. As the slide shows, Palo Alto was obligated to identify sites that can accommodate 1,988 housing units. As Palo Alto goes into its sixth cycle again, consisting of 8 years, from years 2023 to 2031, the state has increased the RHNA numbers, but the state has also been losing population for years. During the last 2 years, even more people left California, and we had asked for that to be taken into account, but it wasn't. The methodology used was and is flawed, and that is because of legislation. Yes, that's law. That is enacted to ensure, with this kind of RHNA numbers, that cities fail. As you see on the slide, the sixth cycle housing allocation has tripled. Why? I'll tell you in a moment. The state's narrative is that supply needs to increase so to decrease the cost of housing. That's the trickle-down theory, right? But evidence has shown that it has increased the cost of rent and living. So it is based on ideology and hypothesis. How many more years, money, disruption, destructiveness, can we continue with this kind of law, legislation? And we know the answers already because we have an affordability problem. On this slide, as you can see, market rate housing has no problem being built by developers. It is the genuine affordable housing that is lacking. Under SB 35, under Senate Bill 35, developers can delay pulling permits until approvals become ministerial. The bill takes control away from the public and hands it to the developers. As you saw on the previous slide, market rate housing was built even over what was required. It is the same for many other cities throughout California. Most cities met their RHNA goals for market rate housing, so Senate Bill 35's streamlining of approvals was rarely invoked. So the developer-friendly legislators needed to jack up the RHNA targets to unrealistic levels, guaranteeing that most cities would fail to meet the targets. Senate Bill 828 was the bill that allowed HCD, Housing Community Development, to make adjustments to the RHNA goals. The bill was sponsored by Bay Area Council and the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. You should go with them, you should Google them to see what they're all about and who they are. Senate Bill 828 created another carrot for profit developers. Its widely inflated RHNA mandates require cities to change zoning to allow bigger, taller projects on parcels. This is upzoning, and essentially it forces cities to upzone. And upzoning raises the economic value of upzoned parcels. Palo Alto and other cities and counties have worked on the housing element to address RHNA. Palo Alto is waiting for HCD's response. I hope they don't punish us. But back to Senate Bill 35. You saw the housing allocation for the next 8 years of 6,086 housing units. Well, in 4 years, midway through the 6th cycle, if developers have not pulled their building permits for at least half of Palo Alto's RHNA targets, then approvals become ministerial, and the public loses the right to comment on the projects. They've even received their entitlements already, but if they don't pull their building permits, then we have an issue. California has not met the RHNA affordable housing goals. So what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again just to have the same results. And due to lack of subsidies, especially since the demise of redevelopment funding in the Great Recession, the state does not have the funds needed to fulfill the RHNA affordable housing goals. The 6th cycle RHNA goal is 1 million new affordable housing units in the next 8 years. Listen, be it affordable unit or market rate unit, it costs the same to build. At an average cost of $750,000 for each unit, the total bill would be $750 billion, and different regions have different building costs. Here in Palo Alto, it'll take $1.5 billion to build the affordable housing to be in compliance with RHNA, and costs continue to rise, so it won't be 1.5 billion, it will be more. Last month, a group of elected officials throughout the state met with the state treasurer, who said there isn't enough money to go around for below market rate housing funds. State laws such as SB 330, SB 9, SB 10, AB 2097, SB 35, SB 828, and so many others do nothing for genuine affordable housing. What it does do is take away the ability of local governments to make local planning decisions about the built environment, and it does not give opportunities to residents or neighbors to provide comments or input. That goes against the whole meaning of democracy. When it comes to housing, it needs to be addressed in a sensible way because we have a finite planet, and you cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. This is Santa Clara County's area median income categories. As you can see, for a family of 4, the moderate area median income is at $202,200, and for one person at the 120 AMI is at $141,480. So, you know, their chances of actual home ownership is going to be really difficult, and generational wealth passing down to children, having an asset is going to be really hard. Next slide. And these units are newly built, so are they affordable? The picture on the top left is located at 588 Webster Street. It replaces about 9 naturally occurring affordable housing units. We call them NOAs, N-O-A. The picture on the top right corner is located at 2755 El Camino Real, built on the former VTA parking lot at the corner of El Camino and Page Mill. We know it is Alto Local, but here it is listed as the Palomino. Next slide. So, regional housing needs allocation does not stop. Every 8 years, it comes around again, and with more to build. It's like a build, baby, build machine. How sustainable is it? Where is the money? Is it solving homelessness? Is it helping people buy their first homes? Is it the root cause of the problem? This slide just shows more proposed legislation that's coming, and it aids developers again. And then the next slide is a picture of downtown from the mayor's window. I just wanted to provide this to provide context looking at the building heights, because that's going to be affected with all the new state laws. As we can see, Channing House, which is far back, it is about 135 feet to the penthouse. That's the height. Then we have to the very right, left, is 525 University Avenue. That one there is 238 feet to the top of the penthouse. We have Mark, the one that is right in the middle. It's an apartment building, and that's 148 feet to the penthouse. Then we have, which is not in this picture, but 101 Alma, which is a condominium complex, and it's at 143 feet to the top of the penthouse. This one is just looking south to South Palo Alto, and the larger oval is some of Stanford University's new 6 to 7 story housing that replaces part of the low-rise Escondido Village. But you still see a lot of treetops over there. And then the smaller circle is Palo Alto Square, which is on the corner of El Camino and Page Mill, and it is at 141 feet to the top of the penthouse. Thank you. The next slide. This is a Houston neighborhood. It has no zoning over there, but you can see that there is a 7-story building right there at the corner, and then there are single-story family homes around there, 2-story. So this is no zoning. And the next slide. This is a view from the street if you have these houses near you. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so we have a lot more work to do, indeed. The reason I showed you those pictures of no zoning and what could take place here in Palo Alto is basically legislation that's coming. And there's very little that the council members would be able to do. And so you should be aware, you should know what's coming. And I just don't want you to be surprised when it rolls next door to you. So we have more work to do, yes indeed, and what it takes to advance our priorities. Next slide. This slide shows Palo Alto's revenue sources, and most of it, all of it, goes into the general fund to fund services, public safety, libraries, community services, public works, and the administrative services needed to support them. Next slide. Thank you. We recognize cost increases have impacted all. Utility rates are a concern, and my husband, he makes sure I know that he's not happy with it, and he tells me about it every chance he gets. State and federal agencies are looking into the winter gas price spikes, and as a city, on behalf of the city, I've sent a letter to the governor supporting his investigation into these gas price spikes. And also, a letter was sent to the Attorney General to investigate the potential of price gouging violations. We had a success through the city attorney's office of 24 million that came back through litigation with the federal government over electric costs, resulting in potential 5% electric rate reduction in July. Look for that. What I have learned from the pandemic is that Palo Altans expect services, and this is a service community. Back in 2020, when we had to cut 40 million from the budget, it was very painful, a very painful ordeal. Libraries, parks, recreational classes, children's theater, police, fire, and on need people to operate. Personally, I received phone calls, emails about why trash was not picked up, why libraries can't have longer hours, why can't recreational classes be outdoors. This all requires people to staff these positions. Funding is critical and needed to provide services to the community. And so, I want to say thank you for passing Measure L and K. You notice the letters? I switched them around. There's a lot to address. The city's aging infrastructure, the railroad, grade separation, road connectivity and safety for pedestrians and bicyclists, code enforcement, being attentive to the youth and seniors in the community, preserving our parks and open space, preserving historical, social and cultural past events for remembrance by human societies, art, airplane noise. There's a lot more, and this all ties into supporting services. Next slide. I want to end this address with this as a reminder to us about government. Government is a trust, and the officers of the government are trustees, and both the trust and the trustees are created for the benefit of the people. By Henry Clay, I believe he was a council member in Palo Alto. Was he? No? Sorry, he wasn't. I need to check up on my history. But I don't know if you know where this is located. It's right in front of City Hall. And so I just want to end with saying thank you to all of you, and also to say thank you to staff for helping me with my state of the address and for decorating this lovely room. But I also want to thank my besties, Mark Myers and Van, who helped with the setup. They're volunteers, and so I also want to thank them. And with that, thank you, and we are adjourned.